AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of her fiancé's behavior and causing a huge family rift. I, 29F, come from a close-knit family that usually gets along well, but things have been pretty tense lately because of my sister and her upcoming wedding. I'm going to try to explain everything as clearly as possible, but the situation is complicated, so please bear with me. My sister, Emily, 27F, has been dating her fiancé Mark, 30M, for about 2 years. When they first started dating, I liked Mark. He was charming, funny, and seemed to genuinely care about Emily. Over time, though, some things started to bother me. I chalked some of it up to the stress of wedding planning and my own overthinking. But as the months went by, Mark's behavior around me and other family members became harder to ignore. He would make offhand comments that felt rude or dismissive, especially towards me. For example, during a family dinner a few months ago, I shared some exciting news about a promotion I had gotten at work, and Mark immediately cut me off and said, "Well, it's not like it's a real achievement or anything." I was shocked and hurt, and when I tried to tell Emily, she brushed it off, saying Mark was just joking. Things got worse. At another family gathering, Mark openly criticized the food, complaining about how it was amateurish, even though my mom spent hours preparing it. When my mom confronted him later, he said he was just being honest. It felt disrespectful to everyone. The breaking point came a few weeks ago at a rehearsal dinner. Mark got into a heated argument with my father over a trivial topic and ended up calling him old-fashioned and out of touch. The fight was loud enough for the entire family to hear, and many guests were uncomfortable. My sister later told me she was embarrassed, but said Mark's behavior was just a one-time thing, and that he was under a lot of stress from work. Over the past year, I have tried to have calm conversations with Emily about Mark's behavior, but she always defends him. She says I'm exaggerating and that I'm just biased because I've never liked him as much as she does. I don't think I'm being unreasonable. His behavior has been openly disrespectful to me and others in the family, and it doesn't seem like he cares to change. Now here's where things get complicated. Emily and Mark's wedding is in 2 weeks. The whole family is involved, and it's a big event. I've told Emily I'm not comfortable attending because I don't want to be around Mark and I don't want to contribute to a happy occasion that feels fake to me given everything. Emily was devastated and said I'm ruining her special day. That family means supporting each other no matter what, and that I'm being selfish and petty. Since then, family members have taken sides. My parents think I'm being too harsh and want me to attend for the sake of peace. Some cousins and aunts agree with me and think Mark's behavior has been unacceptable. Emily refuses to talk to me, and Mark has openly said he doesn't want me at the wedding because I'm creating drama. I've thought long and hard about whether I'm overreacting or being unreasonable. I love my sister, and I want her to be happy, but I also don't want to feel disrespected or forced to be around someone who treats me and others poorly. So, AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of Mark's behavior and causing this huge family rift? Or should I swallow my pride and just go for the sake of family harmony? If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of how she treated my son? I never thought I'd be the kind of person to post on AITA, but here I am, genuinely torn and needing outside perspective. This is going to be long, so bear with me. I, 34M, have a 7-year-old son, Ethan, who means the absolute world to me. I'm divorced from Ethan's mom, and we have a civil co-parenting relationship, but that's not the focus here. The issue revolves around my older sister, Clara, 38F, and her upcoming wedding. Clara and I have always had a complicated relationship. Growing up, she was the golden child in our family, smart, pretty, and the favorite of pretty much everyone. I was more of the quiet, nerdy kid who preferred books and video games to parties and socializing. Despite this, I always loved my sister and hoped we'd have a close adult relationship. Over the years, though, I've realized Clara is the kind of person who expects things to revolve around her, and if they don't, she can be quite ruthless. The story really starts about a year ago when Clara got engaged to her fiancé, Mark. As soon as they announced their engagement, Clara started talking nonstop about the wedding and how perfect it was going to be. She made it clear that everything needed to fit her vision, from the venue to the guest list to the seating arrangements. I was happy for her and told her to let me know if she needed help. Then, a few months later, my son Ethan had a birthday party. It was a modest thing, just a small gathering at our house with a few of his friends. We had a theme he loved and a couple of games, nothing fancy. I invited Clara and Mark, thinking it was a good way for them to bond with Ethan before the wedding. To my surprise, Clara showed up late, only stayed for 20 minutes, and seemed annoyed the whole time. Mark didn't come at all. I brushed it off at the time, thinking maybe they had other plans. But then things started to get weird. Clara began making comments about Ethan and me that were hurtful and just downright rude. For example, she told my parents that Ethan was a handful and implied I wasn't doing a good job raising him. She also criticized the way I live. Our house isn't fancy, and I work in a stable but modest job. She never says these things directly to me, but drops these passive-aggressive remarks in front of other family members. The biggest issue came when Clara asked me about the wedding guest list. I gave her a rough idea of who I'd want to bring: my parents, my close friends, and of course Ethan. That's when she told me flat out that Ethan wouldn't be attending the wedding. I was stunned and asked why. Clara said that Mark had a really bad reaction to children and they didn't want any kids at the wedding. I tried to explain that Ethan is very well behaved and that this was a huge deal for me, but Clara was firm. She said it was a grown-up event and that Ethan being there would ruin the vibe. I told her that Ethan is my son and part of my family, and if I was expected to be there, he should be too. Clara then started bringing up all kinds of excuses about the venue not allowing kids, about costs, about the timeline of the ceremony, basically everything, but admitting she didn't want him there. At this point, I asked if it was possible for me to come alone, and she said that if Ethan wasn't coming, then I was not welcome either. This broke something in me. I couldn't believe my sister would put her fiancé's comfort over me and my son like this. I told Clara that if Ethan wasn't allowed at her wedding, I wouldn't be attending at all. Things escalated quickly after that. Clara called me selfish and immature. She told me I was making the wedding all about my son and that I was holding her hostage by refusing to come without him. She said I was trying to ruin her special day. Our parents tried to mediate, but Clara was firm: no kids, no me. The last time we spoke, Clara told me that family isn't about entitlement and that I was being unreasonable. I haven't responded since. Now, my parents are caught in the middle, pressuring me to just suck it up and attend for family unity. They say I'm being stubborn and making things worse. My friends are split. Some think I'm right to stand up for my son. Others say weddings are about compromise and that maybe I'm overreacting. I honestly don't know what to do. I love my sister, but I feel like she's treating Ethan like he's not family. He's hurt and confused about why his aunt doesn't want him at her wedding. I don't want to miss her big day, but I can't bring myself to go without him. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because she won't let my son come? Or is Clara justified in keeping the event kid-free, even if it means excluding my family? AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because she excluded me from the bridal party and then made a big scene about it? This has been a tough situation for me, and I'm hoping to get some perspective on whether I'm actually being unreasonable here or if my feelings are justified. The whole thing started when my sister announced her wedding plans about a year ago. I'm 29, and my sister is 32. We've always been close growing up, though like most siblings, we've had our ups and downs. Recently, things between us have gotten pretty tense, mostly due to the wedding. She got engaged last summer, and from the moment she told me, I was genuinely excited. I was one of the first people she told, and I immediately started helping her with some early planning ideas. I was always supportive, offering to help with invitations, venue hunting, and even dress shopping. When she started putting together her bridal party, that's when things got weird. She asked her two best friends and her fiancé's sister to be bridesmaids, but didn't mention anything about including me. I was surprised, but didn't say much at first. I thought maybe she was keeping the bridal party small, or that she had some other reasons. A couple of weeks later, I casually brought it up with her, asking if I was going to be a bridesmaid or have any role in the wedding. She kind of brushed me off and said she didn't want to overload the bridal party and wanted to keep it to close friends. She mentioned that she thought it would be more fun that way. I was hurt, but tried to let it go. I told myself it wasn't worth making a fuss over. However, the more I thought about it, the more upset I became. I felt like she was prioritizing her friends over her own sister, especially since I had always been there for her. I also started to notice other subtle exclusions, like not being invited to certain pre-wedding events that all the bridesmaids were attending. When I asked about those events, she said they were just small gatherings and not mandatory. Things reached a breaking point when she held a bridal brunch a couple of months ago, inviting all the bridesmaids and some close friends, but not me. She sent me a group text afterward, saying she was sorry I couldn't make it and that it was a small, intimate thing. I replied saying I wish she had told me about it earlier, but I didn't want to cause drama. Then, a few weeks later, she sent out the formal wedding invitations. My invitation came with a nice note, but it was clear I wasn't part of the bridal party or given any special role. I was upset, but tried to hide it. About a month before the wedding, I told her I wouldn't be attending. I explained that I felt hurt and excluded, and that being left out of the bridal party and pre-wedding events made me feel like I wasn't important to her. I also said that if I wasn't going to be included as a sister, I didn't want to attend just as a guest. She reacted very negatively. She called me selfish, accused me of ruining her wedding plans, and said I was making it all about me. She told me that the bridal party was her choice and that I should respect it. She also said she thought I was being immature and that I was burning bridges over something silly. After that, our family got involved. My parents and some relatives urged me to reconsider and attend the wedding. They said it wasn't worth causing a family rift. I explained my feelings to them, but they told me I was being stubborn. It's now 2 weeks before the wedding, and my sister has posted on social media about how devastated she is that I'm not coming. She's made a few public posts about family drama, without naming me directly, but it's obvious who she means. This has made me feel even worse, but I still stand by my decision. Some friends have told me I'm overreacting and that I should just put aside my feelings for one day to support my sister. Others have said I have a right to feel hurt and that my sister's actions were unfair. So, Reddit, am I the asshole for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because she excluded me from the bridal party and pre-wedding events? Or is my sister the asshole for making me feel so unimportant on such a big day? AITA for refusing to let my sister's fiancé stay in my house after he got kicked out of his place? So this happened about a month ago, and honestly, I'm still feeling a mix of frustration, guilt, and confusion. I, 32F, have a younger sister, 28F, and she's been engaged to her boyfriend, Tom, 30M, for about a year. They've been together for almost 5 years. I'm close to my sister, and we talk frequently, but I don't know Tom that well, mainly because he's been kind of a wild card in their relationship. My sister has always been pretty independent, but Tom has a history of instability that she tries to manage or overlook because she loves him. To give some context, I live alone in a 2-bedroom apartment in a mid-sized city where the cost of living is moderate but not cheap. I have a decent job, and I manage my finances carefully, but I'm not rich by any means. My sister and Tom live together currently in a small apartment, but Tom has had issues paying rent on time, which has caused fights between them and with the landlord. About 6 weeks ago, Tom got evicted because the rent hadn't been paid for 3 months. My sister had been covering for him, but she finally reached a breaking point and told him he needed to find somewhere else to stay while he got his finances sorted. She gave him 2 weeks to figure it out or leave. Tom didn't really have any family in the area and no close friends willing to take him in. So, naturally, he came to me. I was blindsided. My sister told me what was going on, but asked me to help Tom out temporarily. I told her I wasn't sure if that was a good idea because I didn't have a lot of space or extra money, and I was worried about how it would affect my own life. She insisted it would just be for a few weeks, and she really needed me to support them both. Because I care about my sister, I agreed to let Tom stay on the couch for up to 2 weeks. Right from the start, things didn't go well. Tom was pretty messy and didn't respect the apartment's shared spaces. He left dishes in the sink, didn't clean up after himself, and was often loud late at night. I work from home, so the noise was a big problem. On top of that, he kept asking me for money to cover his food and utilities, even though I had made it clear I wasn't going to bankroll his life. I told him he needed to look for work and contribute in any way he could. Things escalated when he had a fight with one of my neighbors because he was smoking inside the apartment, even though I had asked him not to. That was a huge red flag for me because I have asthma and can't be around smoke. I told him he needed to quit smoking in my place or leave immediately. At that point, I started regretting agreeing to this arrangement. I felt like I was walking on eggshells all the time, and my sister kept messaging me asking how things were going and begging me to be patient. She was very worried about Tom's mental health and said he was going through a tough time, but I couldn't keep covering for him. After 2 weeks, I told Tom it was time for him to find somewhere else. I even offered to help him look for a cheap room or a hostel. He got angry and said I was being selfish and unsupportive. I told him I wasn't his charity case, and I had my own life to manage. Now my sister is furious with me. She says I should have been more understanding and that I'm pushing her fiancé out when he's vulnerable. She accused me of ruining their relationship and not caring about their future. She's given me the cold shoulder since then, and I haven't heard from her much. I honestly feel like I did what I could without sacrificing my own well-being. Tom was disrespectful and irresponsible, and my sister seemed to expect me to fix things for them. I'm wondering if I'm the asshole for refusing to let him stay longer, or if I should have been more accommodating given their situation. So, Reddit, AITA here. AITA for refusing to let my brother's fiancée stay in my house after she threw a huge fit over my dog's allergies. This whole thing started a few months ago, and honestly, I still can't believe how it blew up into a full-on family drama. I'm 32F, live in a decent-sized apartment in the city with my dog, Charlie, a golden retriever I've had since he was a puppy. He's basically my kid, and I'm very careful about his health because he has some pretty bad allergies that cause skin issues and breathing problems if he's exposed to certain things. I've spent a lot on vet visits and special food, and I keep my apartment clean and free from any allergens that might affect him. My younger brother, 28M, has been dating his now fiancée, Sarah, for about a year. They recently got engaged and have been talking about their wedding and future plans nonstop. Sarah is sweet, but also kind of high maintenance and very particular about things. She also has a history of being a bit difficult in social situations, though I've tried to get along with her for my brother's sake. A couple of months ago, they decided to come visit me for a weekend. My place isn't huge, but there's enough space for guests. I was happy to have them over, and I told them I'd prepare the guest room for them. When they arrived, Sarah immediately started complaining about my dog. She said Charlie's fur was everywhere, and she was worried about allergies. I explained that Charlie has some allergies himself, so I'm very careful about cleaning and that the dog doesn't shed much because I bathe him regularly and keep his space tidy. But Sarah wasn't satisfied. She said she was allergic to dogs and that staying in my apartment would be a nightmare for her. I was surprised because she had never mentioned being allergic before. I told her I'd do my best to keep the place clean, but I can't keep Charlie away entirely because he lives here. Sarah looked visibly upset, but said she'd try. That night, she ended up having a minor allergic reaction, itchy eyes and sneezing. I felt bad, but told her I had allergy meds if she wanted them. She took them, but was grumpy the whole time. The next day, Sarah started to demand things. She wanted me to keep Charlie locked in my bedroom or even outside while they were visiting. I explained that's not really possible since Charlie gets anxious if he's separated for too long, and it's not fair to him to be confined just because Sarah is visiting. Sarah insisted and said that if I didn't do this, she wouldn't be comfortable in my home. I tried to reason with her, but she wasn't having it. Then, the real drama started. Sarah demanded I get rid of Charlie temporarily while they stayed, or else she wouldn't stay over at all. I told her flat out no. Charlie is my family, and I'm not kicking him out for anyone. She got angry, saying I was selfish and inconsiderate, and that this was not how adults handle visiting guests. My brother stepped in and told me I should compromise for their comfort since it was a big deal for Sarah. I refused, saying Charlie's health and well-being come first in my home. My brother got frustrated, accusing me of putting a dog over my own family. Sarah decided she wouldn't stay the night, after all, and went to a nearby hotel instead. My brother stayed at my place for one night, but then left to be with Sarah. After they left, I sent my brother a message trying to explain my side and asking if we could talk. He responded coldly, saying I was being stubborn and unreasonable, and that Sarah felt unwelcome and unsafe in my apartment. That stung because I never intended to make anyone feel unsafe. I only wanted to protect my dog's health. A few days later, my parents called. Apparently, Sarah told them I was being cruel and that I refused to accommodate her allergies. My parents said I should have been more understanding and suggested I apologize. I told them I'm not going to apologize for protecting my dog and that I don't think it's fair to force me to exclude Charlie just because Sarah is allergic. The family started taking sides. My parents and brother think I'm the asshole for not making it easier for Sarah, while my close friends say I'm totally justified for standing up for my dog. I feel caught in the middle and honestly hurt that my brother and family are pushing me to prioritize Sarah's comfort over my pet's health. I don't know if I'm being too rigid or if I'm justified in refusing to kick Charlie out or keep him locked up just so Sarah can stay comfortably. I want to support my brother and his relationship, but not at the expense of my dog's well-being. So, Reddit, AITA, for refusing to accommodate my brother's fiance's dog allergy by kicking my dog out or restricting him during their visit. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after she disinvited me over a dispute about a family heirloom. I, 32F, have always been close with my sister, Emily, 30F. We grew up in a family that, while not perfect, was generally loving and supportive. Our parents passed away about 5 years ago, and since then, Emily and I have taken on the responsibility of sorting through their belongings and managing their estate. We have generally cooperated well, but recently, a disagreement over a family heirloom has escalated to a point where I'm now questioning whether to even attend Emily's upcoming wedding. To give some background, my parents left behind several sentimental items, but one of the most valuable and meaningful is a vintage diamond necklace that has been in our family for generations. It belonged to our great-grandmother, and it's considered a symbol of our family's heritage. When the estate was being divided, Emily and I agreed to keep the necklace safely stored and decide later who it should go to. We both expressed interest in it at different times, but we were never pushy about it. Fast forward to a few months ago, Emily got engaged to her fiancé, Mark. They've been together for about 2 years, and from the outside, their relationship seems solid. Emily confided in me that she wanted the necklace to wear on her wedding day because she felt it would honor our family's legacy. I thought that was reasonable and even encouraged her to do so, offering to let her borrow it temporarily. However, things got complicated when Emily's fiancé suggested that the necklace become a permanent gift to Emily as part of their new life together. This struck me as unfair because the necklace is not just a piece of jewelry. It's a family treasure that I believe should stay within the bloodline and be passed down carefully. I told Emily I wasn't comfortable with giving it to her permanently, especially since we had agreed to decide later. I asked that if she wore it on the day, it would be on loan and returned afterward. Emily disagreed and said it felt disrespectful to her to treat it as a temporary item. She said the necklace should be hers now, as the future matriarch of the family. I tried explaining that being matriarch is not just about marriage, but about preserving family traditions and bonds, and that I wanted to keep our family history intact. This led to heated conversations where Emily accused me of being selfish and trying to control her choices. The situation worsened when I discovered that Emily had shown the necklace to Mark without my knowledge. I confronted her about it, and she said she felt she needed his approval. This made me feel even more sidelined. I reminded Emily that we were supposed to handle this as a team and that Mark was not a direct family member, so he shouldn't be involved in decisions about heirlooms. Emily snapped back that I was being old-fashioned and that she had to think about her new family now. 2 weeks ago, I got a text from Emily saying she was upset and hurt that I was not supportive of her wedding plans and that Mark didn't want me around because of the necklace dispute. She then told me that she had decided to exclude me from the wedding guest list. She said it was too stressful to have me there, and that she hoped I could respect her decision. I was devastated and angry. I responded by telling her I wouldn't attend a wedding where I'm not wanted. I also said that if she truly valued family, she wouldn't cut me out over a necklace. After that, I haven't heard from her except for some curt messages from Mark asking me to drop the drama. I spoke to a few mutual friends, and they told me that Emily has been telling people I'm being unreasonable and selfish. Some have even suggested that maybe I should apologize or give in to make peace. But I honestly feel like my feelings and concerns are valid. This necklace isn't just jewelry. It's a symbol of our family's history, and I'm not ready to just hand it over. At the same time, I don't want to lose my sister entirely, and I miss the close relationship we used to have. I'm stuck in this weird place where I'm hurt, but also unwilling to back down on something so meaningful to me. I guess I'm wondering if I'm overreacting or if Emily is being unfair by excluding me from her wedding over this. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after she disinvited me because of a dispute over the family heirloom. AITA for refusing to babysit my niece after my sister repeatedly disrespected my boundaries and expectations. I, 32F, have a younger sister, Emily, 29F, who has a 3-year-old daughter named Lily. For a few years now, I've had a rocky relationship with Emily, mostly because she tends to take advantage of my kindness and never respects my boundaries. This story centers around one of the biggest conflicts between us and why I ultimately decided I wouldn't babysit Lily anymore. Emily and I grew up close, but as adults, things have gotten complicated. After she had Lily, she often asked me to watch her daughter for a few hours here and there, which I usually agreed to because I love Lily and want to support my sister. However, over time, what started as occasional babysitting turned into a regular expectation. I work full-time, and sometimes I'm tired or busy, but Emily tends to guilt-trip me into saying yes, sometimes even springing last-minute requests that disrupt my schedule. One time sticks out to me vividly. It was a Friday evening, and I had plans with friends that I had been looking forward to all week. At the last minute, Emily texts me, saying her work shift got extended and she needed me to watch Lily for the entire weekend. I told her that was impossible and that I had plans. She got upset and accused me of not caring about her or Lily. I offered to help for a few hours the next day instead, but that wasn't enough for her. I decided to set some clear boundaries after that incident. I told Emily I was happy to help occasionally, but she needed to give me at least 24 hours notice for babysitting, and it couldn't interfere with my personal plans or work schedule. I also said I wouldn't do full weekends anymore, as I needed my time to recharge. At first, Emily seemed to understand, but the pattern repeated. She continued to ask for last-minute favors and weekends, often disregarding my boundaries. Sometimes she would promise to be back by a certain time and then return hours late without warning, leaving me stressed and overwhelmed. I kept reminding her of the boundaries I set, but she seemed to ignore or dismiss them. The breaking point came a few weeks ago. Emily called me early in the morning, frantic because her babysitter canceled last minute and she had a very important work meeting that she couldn't miss. She begged me to watch Lily for the day, which was a Sunday. I was reluctant but agreed because it was a rare emergency. I made it clear that this was a one-time exception and that it couldn't become a habit. During the day, Lily was a handful, toddler tantrums, lots of attention needed, and I barely got a moment to myself. Emily called multiple times asking for updates and saying she hoped I was having fun, which felt dismissive of the effort I was putting in. When she finally returned, it was late, and she didn't apologize for the last-minute request or thank me properly. Instead, she complained that Lily was grumpy because I hadn't given her snacks on time. That evening, I told Emily that I was feeling really exhausted and unappreciated and that I needed her to respect the boundaries I'd set. She exploded, saying I was being selfish and that family should always help each other. She accused me of not loving Lily or caring about her needs. I tried to explain that helping meant supporting each other respectfully, not being taken for granted, but she refused to listen. Since then, I've refused to babysit Lily when she asks last minute or for extended periods. Emily has been cold toward me and told other family members that I'm a bad sister who doesn't want to help. Some relatives have taken her side, which has been hurtful. Now, Emily is demanding an apology and for me to step up and help with Lily more regularly. I feel torn because I love my niece, but I also need to protect my own time and mental health. I'm worried that if I give in, the cycle of disrespect will continue. On the other hand, I wonder if I'm really being selfish and not supportive enough of my family. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to babysit my niece after my sister repeatedly disrespected my boundaries and expectations. AITA for refusing to let my sister's boyfriend move into our family home after a major falling out that split the family. I'm 29F, and I live in a 3-bedroom house that's been in my family for years. It belonged to my parents, but after they passed, it was left to me and my younger sister, 25F. We split the ownership evenly, and since I'm the one who had stable income and was more established, I took over the mortgage and upkeep, with the understanding that she'd help when she could or maybe move in eventually. Our parents never wanted the house sold, and honestly, I didn't want it either. It was full of memories, and I hoped it could be our base for family gatherings. For context, my sister has always been a bit impulsive and less responsible with money. She's sweet, but tends to make decisions without thinking them through. About a year ago, she started dating this guy, Mark, who seemed nice enough at first. Mark's 28M, and when they began dating, I was cautiously optimistic but kept my distance. I'm a bit protective of my sister, and I wasn't sure about Mark's intentions. Things started to go downhill when Mark got a job offer in a different city, but instead of moving, he decided he wanted to stay here and live with my sister. She agreed and told me they were planning to move into the house with me. I wasn't thrilled about it, but since I was working from home and there was a spare room, I said okay, on the condition that they would pay rent and contribute to bills. I explicitly said they needed to have a lease agreement and pay a fair share of expenses. My sister agreed and seemed to understand. A few months passed, and Mark moved in. At first, things were all right. Mark paid his portion on time, helped around the house occasionally, and kept to himself mostly. My sister was happier, and I thought maybe this could work. But then things started to shift. Mark began acting entitled. He made changes to the house without asking, like repainting a room and rearranging furniture. When I mentioned I wanted the house kept as it was, since it was still our family home, he brushed it off and said, "It's where we live now. We should make it ours." I tried talking to my sister, but she defended him, saying I was being rigid and needed to be more flexible. Next, Mark started pushing to have a dog. I'm allergic, and I told him this up front. My sister said they'd get a hypoallergenic breed, but Mark came home one day with a big dog anyway. I asked them to reconsider because my allergies were acting up badly, but Mark told me to get over it or stay in my room. That was a red flag, but I didn't want to escalate. Meanwhile, Mark stopped paying rent consistently. Sometimes he'd give me excuses, sometimes he'd avoid the topic altogether. My sister didn't help. She kept saying he was going through a rough patch and asked me to be patient. Bills piled up, the house got messy, and Mark grew more demanding. I was working overtime to cover costs and was stressed about the house deteriorating. Finally, about 2 months ago, I confronted them. I told them clearly that if Mark couldn't pay rent and respect the house, he couldn't stay. I suggested my sister find her own place if she wanted to live with him. That's when everything blew up. Mark and my sister accused me of being controlling and not supporting their relationship. My sister said I was choosing property over family. She even said she wished I'd just sell the house and get out of her way. Our parents' legacy was suddenly irrelevant to her. The tension spilled over into family gatherings. Our other relatives took sides, some with me, some with her. I tried to mediate, but every conversation ended in arguments. My sister started avoiding me completely, and Mark made it clear he wasn't leaving. Then, last week, I came home early from work and found Mark and my sister packing up some of my parents' things to take with them. He said they were moving out, but wanted to take some keepsakes. I reminded them that the house and its contents were still under my ownership and that they needed permission to remove anything. Mark got angry and shoved me, which is when I called the police. They left that night, but have been threatening legal action, claiming they have some rights because the house was family. I've been feeling horrible about how things turned out. I didn't want to lose my sister or our relationship, but I also couldn't let them disrespect our family home and me like that. My parents would be devastated. Some family members say I'm too harsh, that I should have been more understanding. Others think I did the right thing standing up for myself. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to let my sister's boyfriend move in and for calling the police when he was violent? Should I have handled this differently? I'm honestly torn and heartbroken. Hey friends, if you enjoy this content, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. We really want to know what you like and what can be improved. What do you think of the video? Are there any topics you'd like to see in future videos? Your feedback really helps us get better. Thanks for being with us. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of her fiancé's behavior. I, 29F, have always been close with my family, especially my younger sister, 26F. Growing up, we were inseparable despite our different personalities. I'm more reserved and thoughtful, while she's outgoing and bold. We've had our ups and downs like any siblings, but overall, I've always supported her and been there through thick and thin. Recently, my sister got engaged to a guy named Tom, 30M. At first, I was happy for her. I'd never met Tom before the engagement party, but I trusted her judgment. As the wedding plans started rolling, I thought everything would be smooth sailing. Unfortunately, that couldn't be farther from the truth. The first red flag was at the engagement party. Tom was incredibly rude to everyone, especially my parents. He made a series of snide comments about their financial situation, implying they weren't contributing enough to the wedding, even though they offered help generously. He also insulted my mom's cooking and told a couple of inappropriate jokes that made several guests uncomfortable. My sister laughed it off and said he was just being himself, so I kept quiet, hoping it was just nerves. Things escalated during the wedding planning meetings. Tom insisted on a lavish wedding, despite my sister's preference for a simple ceremony. When my sister expressed her wish to keep things low-key, he would dismiss her and say, "If you want this wedding to be good, you need to trust me and let me handle it." It felt like he was trying to take control, and my sister was surprisingly okay with that. I tried talking to her privately, expressing concern that Tom's behavior was disrespectful and that she seemed to be losing her voice in the process. She brushed it off, saying he was stressful right now, but that she loved him and everything would be fine. The biggest problem happened a month before the wedding during a family dinner at my parents' house. Tom came with my sister, but from the moment he arrived, he was hostile. He ignored everyone, made passive-aggressive comments about my dad's job, and openly criticized the family's opinions on politics and lifestyle. When I tried to engage him in conversation, he gave me one-word answers or just smirked. At one point, he loudly asked why my sister was wasting her time talking to losers like me when she could be focusing on the wedding. I was stunned and angry. My sister didn't say anything. She just looked down. My parents tried to smooth things over, but Tom only got worse. That night, after they left, I told my parents I didn't think Tom was right for my sister. They agreed he was difficult, but said it was her decision and that she seemed happy. I felt torn, but decided to step back. Fast forward to 2 weeks before the wedding. I got a call from my sister asking if I would help with some last-minute wedding tasks. I agreed, hoping to mend things. When I met up with her and Tom, he was cold and dismissive toward me again. I overheard him tell my sister that he didn't want me involved because she always ruins everything. That hurt, but I didn't say anything. On the wedding day, I was ready to put everything aside and support my sister. But during the rehearsal dinner, Tom pulled me aside and told me in no uncertain terms that if I caused any drama at the wedding, I would be uninvited. He accused me of trying to sabotage their relationship and warned me to stay out of it. I decided then that I couldn't pretend everything was okay. The way Tom treated my family, and especially me, was unacceptable. I called my sister and told her I wasn't attending the wedding because I didn't want to be part of a day overshadowed by his toxic behavior. I explained that I loved her, but couldn't support someone who disrespected us so blatantly. She was devastated and called me selfish, saying I was ruining her special day and that I didn't trust her judgment. Our parents were caught in the middle, disappointed but somewhat understanding of my stance. The wedding went ahead without me, and my sister hasn't spoken to me much since. Some family members think I should have just swallowed my pride and been there for her, while others think I was right to stand up for myself and the family's dignity. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of her fiancé's toxic and disrespectful behavior. AITA for refusing to let my sister stay at my house after she kicked out her boyfriend and made me choose sides. This all started about 6 months ago. My sister, Jess, and I have always had a bit of a strained relationship, but I never thought it would come to this level of tension. I'm 28, married to my husband, Mark, and we live in a modest 2-bedroom apartment in a decent neighborhood. Jess is 26, and until recently, she had been living with her boyfriend, Tom, in a rental about an hour away. Jess and Tom had been together for almost 3 years, and honestly, it always seemed like a rocky relationship. There were plenty of fights, trust issues, and accusations flying both ways. Tom could be controlling and manipulative, and Jess was, well, stubborn and sometimes oblivious to how toxic their relationship really was. I tried to stay out of it for the most part because it wasn't my place, but when Jess confided in me that Tom had been gaslighting her and even emotionally abusing her, I wanted to support her however I could. About 2 months ago, Jess called me one night crying, saying she'd had enough and was kicking Tom out. She told me she needed somewhere safe to stay temporarily because she didn't want to live in their place alone with him there. She asked if she could stay with Mark and me for a few days until she could figure out her next move. At that point, I agreed. I told her we could help her out. No problem. I wanted her to be safe. What I didn't know was that Jess's definition of a few days was very different from mine. She ended up staying for 2 weeks, and during that time, things started getting complicated. Mark and I have a pretty strict routine and boundaries in our home, and Jess just seemed to treat our place like hers. She was constantly inviting friends over without asking, staying up late partying on weeknights, leaving dishes piled up, and generally not respecting her space. Mark was getting annoyed but kept quiet because he wanted to be supportive, and I was trying to balance both sides. The tipping point happened when Jess started accusing me of choosing Tom over her because I declined to get involved in her fights or take her side in arguments she was having with mutual friends about her breakup. I told her I wasn't taking sides. I was her sister, and I wanted her to be okay, but I wasn't going to badmouth Tom or anyone else. She saw that as betrayal. One night, Jess got into a screaming match with Mark over him asking her to clean up after herself, and it ended with her storming out of the apartment. The next day, she sent me a barrage of texts saying I was selfish, cold, and unsupportive, and that if I didn't kick Mark out or make him apologize to her, she would never come back. I was shocked and hurt. I told her that this wasn't a family dispute where I had to pick sides between her and Mark. They were both adults, and Mark didn't deserve to be yelled at for simply asking for respect in our home. I asked Jess to either respect our rules or find somewhere else to stay. She refused and said if I didn't let her stay under her conditions, she'd have nowhere to go and would be homeless. I said I wasn't okay with that, but I also wasn't going to let her treat us like doormats. She then dropped a bombshell on me. She said she'd told our parents that I was the villain and had forced her to leave her home with no support, painting me as the cruel sister who turned her back when she needed help. That made things worse because now my parents were calling me upset and confused, and Jess was begging them to intervene and make me do the right thing. I tried explaining the full story, but they seemed to side with her because she's always been the more emotional one in the family, while I'm seen as the logical and cold one. After a few days of this, I told Jess firmly that she needed to find a new place to stay because our home wasn't working out. She said fine and packed her bags, but before she left, she said some parting words that still sting. You don't have to worry about me anymore. I hope you realize what kind of person you really are. It's been about a month since she left. Our parents are still distant with me, and Jess has barely talked to me except for occasional passive-aggressive comments on social media. Mark says I did the right thing and that our home shouldn't be a battleground, but I can't shake the feeling that maybe I could have done something differently. On the other hand, I feel like Jess disrespected our boundaries and dragged our family drama into a place where it didn't belong. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to let my sister stay in my home under conditions that were making my husband and me miserable. Should I have been more patient or forgiving? Or was I right to stand my ground? AITA for refusing to help my sister with her wedding after she excluded me from the planning and then demanded money. I, 28F, have a sister, Emma, 30F, and we've always had a complicated relationship. Growing up, we were close at times, but mostly distant due to very different personalities and lifestyles. She's very extroverted, high maintenance, and loves to be the center of attention. I'm more introverted, practical, and avoid drama when possible. Our parents favored her a bit more because she was always more outgoing and successful by their standards, which added some tension between us over the years. About 6 months ago, Emma got engaged to her fiancé, Mark. From the beginning, she made it very clear she wanted a big, extravagant wedding and expected everyone to be involved and contribute. She immediately started inviting friends and family to planning meetings and creating a huge list of must-haves, from designer dresses for the bridesmaids to a luxury venue and an expensive caterer. I was invited to the first meeting but felt uncomfortable from the start because she barely asked for my input and seemed to dismiss anything I suggested. After that initial meeting, she stopped including me in further planning or discussions. When I asked about updates, she brushed me off or said everything was taken care of without giving me details. Meanwhile, I overheard her talking to friends about how she didn't want me in the bridal party because I was too boring and wouldn't fit in with the group. I was hurt, but didn't say anything because I didn't want to make the situation worse. The real problem started when she sent a group text to close family and friends requesting contributions toward the wedding expenses. She listed everything that needed to be paid for, including dresses, makeup artists, transportation, and a substantial chunk of the venue rental. It was clear she expected people to pay up because she mentioned things like, "We all want this day to be perfect, and your support means the world." I was shocked by the amounts and the tone, which felt more like a demand than a request. I told her I wasn't comfortable contributing, especially since she excluded me from the wedding party and the planning process. I also pointed out that I was already saving money for my own upcoming move and career expenses, so I simply couldn't justify spending thousands on a party I wasn't even involved in. When I said this, she exploded. She accused me of being selfish, not caring about family, and trying to ruin her special day. She said I was dead to her and didn't deserve to be part of her life if I wasn't willing to support her in this. Our parents stepped in and tried to mediate, telling me I should at least contribute something for the family's sake. They said Emma was under a lot of pressure and I was being unreasonable. I stood my ground, explaining that helping with the wedding shouldn't be mandatory, especially when I wasn't included in any part of it and felt disrespected. Since then, Emma has barely spoken to me, and when she does, it's hostile or passive-aggressive. My relationship with my parents has also become strained because they think I'm being difficult. Some family members have asked me if I'm just being petty or jealous, which I'm not. I honestly don't think I'm in the wrong here. I tried to be supportive in the beginning, but was shut out and then expected to pay large sums of money for something I'm not part of. Am I the asshole for refusing to help with the wedding? Or is Emma being unfair by demanding money and excluding me? I'm stuck in this family drama and just want some perspective. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of her toxic fiancé and it causing a family meltdown. So this is a long one, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around the whole situation, but here goes. I, 28F, come from a pretty close-knit family. We've had our ups and downs like any family, but generally, we've been there for each other. My sister, Emily, 30F, is older than me by 2 years, and growing up, we were super close. We fought like any siblings, but were best friends at the same time. Our parents are pretty traditional, and family gatherings have always been a big deal. Emily got engaged about a year ago to Jake, 32M. From the start, I was a little wary of Jake. He seemed charming and confident, but there was something off. It wasn't anything I could put my finger on, but I noticed how quickly Emily changed around him. She got more anxious, less open, and seemed generally stressed whenever they were together. I tried to give Jake the benefit of the doubt because Emily was happy, and that was what mattered, right? As the wedding plans progressed, my concerns only grew. Jake started showing more of his true colors. For example, at a family dinner, he dismissed my opinion outright when I suggested a more affordable venue. He told me I wasn't contributing anything helpful and that I should stay in my lane. He frequently made passive-aggressive comments about our parents, calling them old-fashioned and clingy. At a birthday party for my niece, He got visibly annoyed when people didn't cater to his preferences, storming off and making a scene. Emily's mood deteriorated. She became withdrawn and anxious, but insisted everything was fine and to trust her judgment. I brought up my concerns gently with Emily a couple of times, suggesting she consider whether Jake was treating her well and whether she was happy. She got defensive, saying I was being judgmental and didn't understand their relationship. I dropped it, hoping things would improve. The final straw was when Jake started dictating family event plans and actively excluding people who disagreed with him, including me. At one holiday gathering, he cornered me and said, "You're being selfish for not supporting my relationship with your sister. If you want to stay in her life, you better learn to play nice." I told him I just wanted Emily to be happy and that his attitude was inappropriate. Fast forward to now. Emily's wedding is scheduled for 2 months from now. Invitations went out and my parents, aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone is talking about the big day. But I haven't RSVP'd yet because I simply can't bring myself to attend. I sat Emily down and explained how I felt about Jake and that I couldn't, in good conscience, be part of the celebration while he was involved. I told her it wasn't about her, but about his behavior and how toxic it's become. She exploded. She called me controlling, said I was trying to sabotage her happiness, and that I was choosing to be the villain. Our parents got involved, demanding I reconsider and threatening to disown me if I caused a family rift. Family group chats have exploded with people telling me to apologize, to be the bigger person, and how weddings are about celebrating love, not personal grudges. Emily's now refusing to speak to me and blocked me on social media. I feel like I'm stuck between doing what I believe is right for my own mental health and being vilified by my entire family. I don't want to lose them, but I also don't want to pretend everything is fine. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of her fiancé and his toxic behavior? Or should I just suck it up and go for the sake of family peace? AITA for refusing to let my sister's boyfriend stay at my house after he caused a huge fight and disrupted my family vacation? This all started about 2 months ago when my sister, Sarah, invited her boyfriend, Mike, to join us on our annual family vacation. My family has done this trip every summer for the past 10 years. Just the core family, my parents, my sister, and me. We rent a cabin in the mountains for a week, and it's something we all look forward to. The vibe is usually pretty chill, with lots of hiking, cooking together, and reminiscing about old times. This year, Sarah insisted on bringing Mike along, saying he was part of the family now. I wasn't thrilled about it, but I didn't want to be the bad guy, so I reluctantly agreed. Mike is a guy I've never really gotten along with. He's loud, always on his phone, and tends to monopolize conversations with awkward jokes or off-color remarks. More than once, he's made me uncomfortable by trying to butt into personal conversations or belittle my opinions in front of others. Sarah, however, is head over heels for him and always brushes off any complaints, so I figured I'd just try to keep my distance during the trip. We arrived at the cabin on a Friday afternoon. It was smaller than usual because Sarah insisted on bringing Mike, and the budget didn't stretch as far. This was the first red flag for me. The cabin barely had enough beds for everyone, and we ended up having to set up a makeshift sleeping arrangement for Mike on the living room couch. I thought maybe that would limit his intrusion, but it was quite the opposite. The first night, Mike stayed up late blasting music on his phone and kept the volume so high that no one could sleep. When my parents asked him to turn it down, he laughed it off and said, "Relax, it's a vacation." I was annoyed, but tried to ignore it. Over the next few days, he continued to make things uncomfortable, talking loudly during our hikes about things no one cared about, interrupting my dad when he tried to tell stories, and taking Sarah away for hours at a time, leaving the rest of us to fend for ourselves. The real breaking point happened on the third day. We were cooking dinner together when Mike started a heated argument with my dad over politics. Mike was being aggressively confrontational and insulting my dad's beliefs. I tried to defuse it, but Mike refused to back down, and my dad ended up storming out of the kitchen. Sarah sided with Mike, accusing my dad of being closed-minded, which was very out of character for her. The tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. After dinner, my mom pulled me aside and told me she was worried the vacation was falling apart because of Mike's behavior. I agreed, and that's when I made the decision not to let Mike stay at the cabin anymore. I told Sarah that if Mike wanted to continue coming to family events, he needed to respect our boundaries and not cause fights or discomfort. I said that, for this vacation, he couldn't stay at the cabin anymore because his behavior was ruining the experience for everyone. Sarah was furious. She accused me of being controlling and said I was overreacting. She threatened to leave the trip early and take Mike with her. I didn't budge. I even offered to help find him a nearby hotel for the rest of the week. But Sarah wouldn't hear it. She insisted Mike was family now and deserved to be treated like one. She said I was being unfair and ruining the vacation for everyone by excluding him. Things escalated quickly. Sarah packed up and stormed out with Mike. My parents and I were left in an awkward, tense silence. The rest of the vacation felt hollow without her there. When we got back home, Sarah sent me a long text accusing me of being selfish, cruel, and unwelcoming. She said I was forcing her to choose between me and Mike and that I was damaging our sibling relationship. Since then, my parents have been caught in the middle, telling me to try to smooth things over with Sarah and Mike. But honestly, I don't trust Mike after everything that happened. I feel like he disrespected my family and invaded our space without any regard for anyone else. I also feel like Sarah was unreasonable to expect us all to just accept him after one weekend of disruptive behavior. Now I'm left wondering if I was really the asshole for kicking Mike out and putting my family's comfort first, or if I was too harsh and should have just tolerated it for Sarah's sake. What do you think? AITA for refusing to help my sister with her wedding after she excluded me from the planning and insulted my fiancé? So, this is a long one, and I'm still trying to process everything, but here goes. I, 29F, have a sister, 31F, named Claire. We've always had a bit of a competitive relationship, but I'd say it's mostly been good. We live in different cities and don't see each other super often, but we talk regularly and have a decent relationship. Claire got engaged about 8 months ago to a guy named Mark, and she immediately started wedding planning. From the beginning, I could tell she wanted this to be her perfect wedding, and honestly, she seemed a little obsessive about the details. I wanted to help where I could, but it quickly became clear she didn't want much input from me. Fine, I figured it was her day. The first red flag came when she asked me not to bring my fiancé, Jason, to any of the planning meetings or dress shopping. She claimed it was easier to handle just the bridesmaids, but I felt like it was weird that she was excluding him entirely, especially since we'd been together for 4 years at that point and Jason had always gotten along with Claire. When I mentioned it, she brushed me off, saying it was just easier without him there, and that he wasn't really part of the wedding planning anyway. Okay, whatever. I didn't want to cause drama, so I respected that. Then, things got worse when I found out that Claire hadn't even told me about some major parts of the wedding. For example, I only discovered the date and venue from our mom, and I wasn't invited to the initial dress fittings or any of the early parties like the engagement party or the bridal shower. I felt pretty hurt by that because I thought I was an important part of her life. When I tried to ask her why I was being left out, she said I wasn't helping much and that planning was stressful enough without me making things harder. Honestly, I was confused because I've been offering help and ideas all along. I felt pushed aside. The last straw came about 2 months ago when Claire sent me a message saying she didn't want Jason to be at the rehearsal dinner. She told me Jason had apparently made some rude comments about the wedding being too much and wasting money, which was untrue. Jason had only made one comment jokingly about how he thought some things were over the top, but it wasn't meant to be rude or serious. I asked Claire to clarify, and she said she'd spoken with Mark and some of her friends who felt the same way about Jason, and they didn't want him there. I was shocked and upset. I told Claire that Jason wasn't going to be excluded from something so important just because of a misunderstanding, and if she wanted to talk about it, we could do that. Instead, she blew up at me, calling Jason disrespectful and accusing me of not supporting her big day. She said if I couldn't respect her wishes, then I shouldn't expect to be involved in the wedding at all. I tried to stay calm, but it was impossible. I told her I felt hurt and disrespected, and if she was going to treat me like that, I wasn't going to be part of her wedding. She responded by sending me a long, angry message about how I was being selfish and ruining things for her. Since then, I've stopped trying to talk to her about the wedding. I haven't gone to any of the events or offered help, and I'm planning not to attend the actual wedding unless she reaches out with a sincere apology and includes Jason. Our mom and dad are caught in the middle. They think I should try harder to make things right, but I feel like I've done all I can. Jason is also hurt and angry about being excluded for something he didn't do, and I'm torn between supporting him and trying to mend things with Claire. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to help my sister with her wedding after she excluded me and insulted my fiancé? Or should I be more understanding about her stress and just go along with her wishes? I want to be part of her life, but I'm also tired of feeling disrespected and pushed away. AITA for refusing to help my sister with her wedding because I was hurt by how she treated me growing up? So, this is going to be a long one because there's a lot of family history behind this, but I'll try to keep it clear. I, 32F, have a younger sister, 28F. Let's call her Emily, and our relationship has always been complicated. We grew up in a small town with very traditional parents who favored Emily. I was the good kid on paper, straight A's, no trouble. But Emily was the golden child who somehow always got her way, and my parents always prioritized her needs and wants over mine. As kids, Emily and I were close on the surface, but behind that, she was often manipulative and would turn my parents against me. For example, if I said something she didn't like, she'd run crying to them and exaggerate the situation until I was the one in trouble. Our parents rarely saw through it. I was constantly compared to her and told I should try harder to be like her. This caused a lot of resentment in me. Fast forward to adulthood. Emily moved to a different city for college and then stayed there for work. I stayed in her hometown because I got a job nearby and also wanted to stay close to our aging parents. We kept in touch sporadically, but it was mostly her reaching out when she needed something or wanted to brag about her achievements. About a year ago, Emily got engaged to her fiancé, Jake. Right after the engagement, she announced she wanted me to be her maid of honor. At first, I thought maybe this was a chance for us to finally rebuild some sisterly bond, so I agreed. But almost immediately, it became clear that Emily's idea of a maid of honor was more about her controlling every detail and me doing all the work. She asked me to help plan everything from the venue, guest list, decorations, and invitations to managing the wedding website, RSVP tracking, and even handling conflict with other bridesmaids. I work a demanding job, and I told her I could help, but I couldn't take the lead on everything or sacrifice my time completely. She brushed off my concerns and said that since I was maid of honor, it was basically my responsibility. Over the months, I tried to be supportive, but Emily kept throwing little digs at me. For example, when I mentioned I was too tired to come to an engagement party, she insisted I attend. She said I was being selfish and didn't care about her happiness. She also shared details about her wedding plans with our parents and then complained to me that they weren't supportive enough or didn't care. This was frustrating because, growing up, I had never seen our parents be as lenient or affectionate toward me as they were with Emily. I felt like my efforts to help with the wedding were going unnoticed or unappreciated. I tried talking to Emily about how I felt, but she said I was overreacting and just needed to be a better sister. 2 months ago, Emily asked me to fly out to her city to help with some wedding dress shopping and vendor meetings. I had just taken on a new project at work, and traveling was going to be hard, but I rearranged my schedule to be there for her. During that trip, she mostly ignored me, spending time with her fiancé and their friends. She only called me to coordinate minor tasks or run errands. It felt like she viewed me as a paid assistant rather than a sister. The final straw came last week when she called me and asked if I could cover the entire cost of the bridal shower she wanted to have here in her hometown because it was easier and she didn't want to hassle with planning it remotely. I was shocked. I told her I couldn't afford that and that it wasn't fair to put the financial burden on me. She got upset and said, "I thought you cared about me, but you just don't want to be involved." I told her that I did care, but that I couldn't be her personal wedding planner or financial backer. We ended up arguing, and she told me that maybe I wasn't the right person to be her maid of honor if I wasn't going to step up. So I sent her a message saying that I would step down as maid of honor because this wasn't what I signed up for and that I couldn't continue in a role where I felt used and unappreciated. She hasn't responded to me since then, and I'm now hearing from other family members that she's telling people I'm selfish and ruined her wedding plans. I feel hurt and confused because I thought I was trying to help, but apparently it wasn't enough. My parents haven't really said much, though I suspect they are a bit disappointed. I don't want to be the villain here, but I also don't want to be taken advantage of. AITA for refusing to be my sister's maid of honor and not helping with her wedding the way she wanted? Or should I have just swallowed my feelings and done what she asked? AITA for refusing to let my sister's boyfriend move in with us after he lost his job? So, here's the background. I'm 29, married to my wife Sarah, 30, and we own a modest 2-bedroom apartment in a mid-sized city. We've been living here comfortably for about 5 years now. My younger sister, Emma, is 26, and she's been dating this guy, Jake, for about a year. Emma has always been a bit of a free spirit, bouncing between jobs and cities, but lately, she's been more stable and seems genuinely happy with Jake. Sarah and I have met him a handful of times, and while Jake seemed fine, we didn't develop any close relationship or anything. About 2 months ago, Jake lost his job unexpectedly. It was a bit of a blow, and Emma was clearly stressed. They were both looking for ways to save money, and then Emma dropped the bombshell. She wanted Jake to move in with us temporarily. She pitched it as a win-win. Jake could save money while job hunting, and since Emma sometimes worked from home, they'd visit often. I immediately had reservations, mostly because our apartment isn't huge and Sarah and I value our personal space and routines. But I didn't outright say no. I told Emma I needed to discuss it with Sarah, and I'd get back to her. When I talked to Sarah, she was hesitant too. We're both introverted and enjoy our quiet time, and adding another adult, especially a stranger, to the mix felt like it would disrupt that balance. Plus, Sarah was worried about the financial and emotional strain of having someone unemployed living with us. I agreed, and we told Emma that while we sympathized, we didn't think it would be a good fit right now. That was the last I heard about it, or so I thought. A couple of weeks ago, Emma called me in tears. Jake had been evicted from his place after some late rent payments, and she said they had nowhere to go. She begged me to reconsider letting Jake move in just until he got back on his feet. She promised it would be short-term, and Jake would pay some rent once he had a job. Sarah was still firm that it wasn't a good idea, so I told Emma we just couldn't accommodate that right now. I felt terrible, but I also felt like we had to protect our own home and sanity. After that call, things got tense. Emma started showing up at our apartment unannounced, sometimes with Jake. They would hang out in the living room for hours, making it awkward for Sarah and me. Sarah asked me to talk to Emma and set boundaries. I did, asking Emma politely but firmly not to come over without calling first, and not to bring Jake around if it was going to be for hours or days. That's when things got worse. Emma told me I was being selfish and unsupportive, that family should help each other in tough times. She said Jake was practically family now, and I was treating him like a stranger. She even accused Sarah of being cold-hearted. I tried to explain that our apartment is small, and having someone else move in would upend our lives in a way that would be stressful for everyone. Then, last weekend, Jake showed up at our door while I was home alone. He wanted to drop off some stuff, but ended up asking if he could stay the night because he had nowhere else to go. I said no, but he pushed and asked if he could stay just until the next day. I refused again, and it turned into a bit of a standoff. Eventually, he left, but I felt bad and worried Emma might be angry with me. Sure enough, Emma texted me afterward, furious that I wouldn't help them. She said I was prioritizing comfort over family, and that I was basically abandoning them. Sarah and I talked about it, and we both agreed that we don't want to turn into their emergency shelter. Now, Emma is barely speaking to me. She posted on social media about how family should be there for each other in hard times, and indirectly called me out for not being supportive. I feel stuck because I do want to help, but not at the expense of my mental health or relationship with my wife. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to let my sister's unemployed boyfriend move in with us after he lost his job? Should I just suck it up for family? Or is it reasonable to protect my home and boundaries? If you want, I can keep going and expand on specific scenes or details. Just let me know. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new videos also. Leave a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your support and engagement mean a lot to me. See you in the next video.